Right, the easiest way of cutting the clamps off is just getting some nose clip pliers and just literally clipping where the clamp goes, and that clamp has now just fallen off. Well, it's come off in a couple of pieces. There we go. Oh, stupid thing, come off. There we go. It's half reluctant to come off. There we go. Just bend it out. There we go. Lovely. So that is the scrap pile. That is one side off. Now this side, I've got to go and find the clip on this side, but you got to do the same on this side, and then we can start cutting. Okay. Well, we've encountered our first problem of the day. There's no clips on this. It's just a solid clamp all the way around. Looks like some sort of compression clamp. So what I'm going to have to do is, well, there's a few ways you can go about it. You can get a rotary tool, a multi-tool, but I'm not going to take any crap, and I'm just going to go in with this, quite frankly. Obviously, I've got to be careful because there might be a bit of grease that might come out, but if I just go very, very gently, watching out to not damage any of this reluctor ring, I should be okay. So bear with. Excuse if I get in the way of the camera on this one. Yeah, I think we can honestly say that has been well and truly cut. Fantastic, lovely. Right, bit of excess rubber. Let's see if we can get this off now. I'll tell you something, guys. I'm just going to stop here. This weather is just absolutely horrendous. I couldn't have asked for a worse day to work on my car. Flipping heck. And you know what, there's no point doing this in the garage because I'll just get the focus wet, and I don't want that either. So God, I'm just soaked. Hate it at this time of the year. It's just ridiculous. Sorry, I'm going to have a little bit of rant about the weather now. All right, let's see if we can focus back on what we're doing here and just move you. Got you. And this, come on. God, this is absolutely... There we go. Christ. Right, okay, now we can start actually just cutting into it. So just literally, just keep cutting into it, and then we'll do a reveal. I think this is why they call this the most disgusting job ever. Oh, flipping heck. Right, I've almost got to the end. I've just got to keep cutting and changing my gloves. I've had to change my gloves about 3 times because you don't want this grease on your hand. Oh, let's see if we can rip this off now. Come on. No, it's refusing to budge as usual. Nasty. Now we are in, and we can just slip this boot off. It's off, and the joint looks really good actually. The grease is fine. Obviously on a rainy day we don't want water getting there, but it's nice and dry now because we've got this going on. Anyway, the boot, it just wasn't good. There's just too many cracks for me around that area. That's the area under pressure when you put your car on full lock. It's quite common. It's not the worst. I can understand why my tester wasn't too overly concerned about it. Again, there's some cracking on the second one. No, it's usual. It's usual. A bit of internal rust. Obviously, that's just the shaft on that bit there where it just sits on it. I am going to give this a bit of a clean up with some rust protection just while it's like this. But now, let's compare it with the other boot. Right, we've got the boot kit. So we got the new boot and 2 sachets of CV grease to go in there, which I'll actually put in this boot once it's over this hub. Again, like I said, you can take this outer joint off. It's only held in there with a C-clip, but I really don't want to be messing with this stuff. Just leave the grease as it is. That grease looks fine to me. That's the normal colour, the grease, as far as I'm aware. There's no sign of ingress or anything like that, like rusty grease or whatever. We have a couple of stainless steel clamps, and obviously we've got the old boot. Now if you compare the old boot there to the new one, we will have to cut like a bit of excess off this boot here, but the idea is that we cut the excess off when we've got it on. Don't worry about it now. But how do we get it over this hub if we cannot be bothered to get the outer boot off because of the mess it will create? Well, you have the cone, or you have this. The cone, you've got to put this boot on the opposite way with the cone, but really honestly I wouldn't recommend doing it with the cone. I know that we want to try and save money, but honestly having one of these tools, it's 50 quid, and once you've got this tool, you can do this tool on any car with CV boots, every single car, and it just, well, it's gonna be easy. Okay, boot on. Okay, just feed it on like that. It should be quite stiff. Now all we need to do is this. Press the button. Come on. Oh boy, the stretch on this. Oh, this is really tricky. Right, we've got it over. Okie dokie, we've got it over the hub. Just about. This tool is very marginal, I will say. I think the more expensive ones can actually stretch further, but I've got my compressor on 100 psi, which is what this takes. It's just kicking in again, and it's just about opened enough. I think some go even further. That's the problem. But anyway, the idea being is that I can actually now. Right, so after a bit of faffing around with the tool just to get it over, it was just about squeezed over. Bloody hell. I've just squeezed, using a few of these sachets, just put some grease in there, okay? Put some fresh grease inside the boot and then leave it, right? A couple of sachets and that's it. You don't need to do anything else. So now I'm just going to, I've got it on that side where it should be. I'm just going to clean up the... Oh, do you know what? They aren't wrong when they say that this is the filthiest job on a car you can possibly do. It's just grease everywhere. Grease on my lights. Grease everywhere. Everything I touch is just grease. Ugh. Now, I am going to show you on the other side a different way of doing it rather than using the tool or the cone. So, for those of you who actually don't have either of them, it's really simple. You just knock the outer joint off. You have to hold, if you've got the drive shaft on the car, to prevent the drive shaft pulling out of the inner joint or the gearbox, just hold the shaft with one hand and knock this outer joint off. It's only held in by a snap ring. It will come off quite easily, and then you can just slip the cone on and then obviously put the outer joint back on, put the hub nut back on, give it a few taps, and it will get over the snap ring. It's as simple as that. I will show you that at some point, but unfortunately the weather is so bad out here today. I am just going to finish with this one joint and then do the other one on another day, because I'm not in a good place at the moment. It's messy, it's wet, and I'm running out of time as well. I'm quite time conscious. I've got a few other jobs to do, and the other side will probably take just as long. So I'm just going to, I say, pack the grease into there. Use all the grease on the sachets. Pack all the fresh grease in. I've scooped some of the old green grease out and put some of the new black stuff in. That's always advantageous. Now I'm going to start clamping it up, and I'll show you how to do that now. Right, now these clamps, basically the way they work is you've got these legs up here that stick out and they go into these grooves. So really honestly, if you get it positioned on this the way you want it, with that little sticky up bit on the upside, because you're going to need to clamp that, that's what you crimp together. And I will show you the tool that you use. You don't really use water pump pliers or nose pliers. You actually use the proper ones. There are a few tools you can use, but I've actually got one of them. So I'm just going to hook this around this piece here, and then I'll show you how to crimp. Right, after a bit of faffing around, I've just managed to get the clip sitting on this end one. Okay, now what you want is that sticky up bit in a position where you can get your crimp tool in, and this is the tool I use. I've used it for a few things, and these are specifically CB boot ones. There are better ones that can apply better clamping pressure, but this one will simply go like this, okay, and it will just pinch that nice and up so you can actually bend it over, and that's it. It will basically tighten the whole thing together. So don't worry if it's a bit loose or slack, because it will tighten up as long as you can get it on the nearest tooth, okay, the nearest lug, okay, and that's fine. You don't need it overly tight, it will crimp. That's the idea of this clamp, it crimps it. And also make sure that you've got it in the right position. I just need to move it fractionally that way, and then we're in a good position. Just get the tool in and then just crimp it right down. So push down and that's it. Bring it together. Come on, that's it. Lovely. Right, I can bring it round now. There you go. That is crimped. That is nice and tight. And just bend that down. You might need to do is just hammer it down. There we go. That, as you can see in the picture, is nice and flat. Okay, that is what you want. You want it nice and flat like that, and that is now. That's not moving now. Now we can turn our attention to this side. Now you can see it's just too big. It's way too big. We're going to have to cut, I think, this piece off. But what we'll do before is we'll get the clamp on in the right position, and then we'll make the cut. Okay, now I think I've got to put the clamp on this one personally, not obviously this is the last one. Put the clamp on this one and then cut the excess off, probably just to this line here where my finger is. Look at these, my gloves are failing again. Well, actually what I've decided to do is actually pull this boot, just pull it as far as you can, get all these ribs nice and open. And then you see where it's sitting, it's gone right over the reluctor ring. And I think we can use this. It's just I was looking at it in the wrong way, I should say. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this clamp over this piece. So because I suspect that the outer diameter of this bit is way wider than that, and even the clamp would actually struggle. Brought to you by Usually Fixing and Tinkering, or between Andrew's legs. I have my phone between my legs, the clamp is in place, and we are going to crimp. This is the only YouTube channel that shows you this sort of stuff on camera, live as I'm doing it. This is a tough one. Yes! Oh, I went off a bit with my legs, sorry about that, guys. Yeah. Lovely. Ah, that's tight. That is tight. Lovely, fantastic. That's exactly what you want, and I'm just going to bend that down and you're done. Bloody hell, this is tough. Just keep going around this seam I've just made. That's exactly where I need to stop, which is perfect. I'm just going to cut around this seam very, very patiently. I really don't think people give honest mechanics enough credit for these sort of jobs, because this is just nasty. I won't want to be doing this every day. It's really nasty. I've now just cleaned it up, and it's come up an absolute treat now. I've just cleaned up all the excess grease, still a bit around here, and I'll get some degrease and go over a few areas. But the truth is, it's all going to be going back together, and that is a nice level of boot. So not too big, not too small, and nice and supple. Lovely, fantastic. Right, so now we can begin the reassembly. Now we just repeat the process in the following order. We literally are going to put that back on there, inside here. We're going to put the hub, which is twisted on its side at the moment. It's sort of gone this way, don't know why, and put the bottom ball joint back into the bottom arm. Okay, and get myself in a position where I can actually, I might get in the way of the camera, bear with, because I have to watch what I'm doing here. It's as simple as that. So let's lift this around. It might be arguable to actually put the drive shaft back through here. Move this around. got the hub in my hand. Okay, drive shaft now can wiggle back into the centre hole. Go. Good. Good. Done. Right. Okay, drive shaft is kind of in position now. Remove that box. Just make sure that goes. There we go. In. Done. With minimal damage. Now, just going to get this drive shaft into the actual. There we go. It's gone in. You just got to get it to spline in. Right, now this is all in, we can actually put the bottom castle nut back on, because ideally, just get it away from there. Oh, come on, heat shield, get out the way. There we go. The bottom castle nut back on, as far as it will go. I'll tell you what, I haven't damaged one ball joint boot today, which is a miracle for me, because I used to damage them all the time. Now, yeah, okay, I'm just going to tighten this by hand for now, and we'll torque it up in a bit. I'm going to have to look at the torque settings for this. Now, as you can see here, we've got this situation where the bottom ball joint is back on, the drive shaft is back in, but we've got quite a gap between the top ball joint there with its very good boot. I'm really surprised about that. And this. The only way of doing this is by jacking up the bottom of the bottom arm so that these two meet. No wonder it actually cracked off without the ball joint splitter. The force between these two, this was going down, this was going up. I mean, look at the force of that wishbone. There you go. So just keep jacking up on this arm until it goes up. There we go. There's a bit of the old split pin stuck in. There we go. I've got that one out. Right, now we can properly do it. Ah, right, that was a test run. There we go. Lovely jubbly, nice and on. Right, if I just get the spanner. It's better to just put some pressure down on the arm while tightening it up, because otherwise the castle nut is going to be working really hard, and those threads, you don't want to butcher them. Now, the top ball joint castle nut has to be torqued in 2 stages. 1 to 39 newton meters, and then the next stage is to tighten it more to line it up with one of the holes for the split pin, which is simple enough. Apart from the fact of one thing, my torque wrench is too big to fit on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to nip it up. 39 newton meters, by the way, is not overly tight, and I suspect I might have actually done more than that. So I'm literally just going to nip it up. I know that people are going to be saying, oh, you should get a small torque wrench. Ideally, yes, but actually, because of this piece here, I can't actually get much on there. So I don't really have a choice. Split pin through. Okay, and just bend it to the left and bend it to the right. God, I've done this enough times to know how to do this. There we go. Fine, perfect. I don't care, it's bent. That's not coming out ever. There we go, nice and tight. Okay, and then you do the same on the bottom arm. Exactly the same repeat procedure, except the newton meters is about 59. So I'm going to try and torque that up and then split pin through the bottom. Okay, I think it should be tight enough anyway, but we'll see. Oh, that's gone. Lovely. Right, stage 2. Find a hole to put the spit pin through. It's always useful to have these lying about. I just pop it through. Should be stiff. Yeah. These match the originals quite nicely, so I'm quite happy with putting these on. Anyway, bend one leg over and then the other behind. There we go. Done. That's not going anywhere now. Perfect. Pop these back in. Lovely. These can be a bit of a pain in the ass. There we go. Ouch. No, rip fingers. Right, I didn't do that, by the way. That was like that before. Don't blame me for that. Right, now the main thing, the only thing to do now is to literally put the hub nut back on. Now, let me have a look at the torque setting for this. So just get it lined in again. Just gonna try and wind this hub nut back on. There we go. Okay, it's gone a bit stiff now. Oh, yeah, there we go. Right, now, just need to make sure that the car is in park. Now, the truth is, on an automatic, you can't really do this, etc., but you need an assistant, preferably to put their foot on the brake to stop any rotation of the drive shafts. You are literally using the calipers to stop that rotating. But if you're doing this on your own, it is very tricky. But honestly, my best advice to you is, even if you've got a low powered impact gun, you can do this. My other advice is get somebody, grab your neighbour, just get them to sit in the car, put their foot on the brake, whatever gear, and you can torque this up. Oh, well, obviously, preferably you need it to have it in reverse gear to tighten it up. I believe I've got that the right way around. Correct me if I haven't. But otherwise, I'm just going to use the cheap gun if this doesn't work, and I'm going to put it in park. Right, now what will happen what's happening is the car is in park and it will not click. Therefore, I haven't reached 180 newton meters. Now, the best way of getting around this, quite frankly, instead of damaging the gearbox, is literally doing what I'm going to do with the impact gun. I'm going to just give it a couple of buzzes, and that will basically do it, because this is rated really, really high. And even on a lower setting, which I'm going to set it on now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep an eye on this, so I know that this block is level, so this flat on this hex is level with the top, so I'm going to keep an eye on how far to the right does it go. Or if you've got actually some letters on the socket, keep an eye on where the letters go. Let's give it a go. Okay, so that moved probably one whole flat. I'm just going to try it again. That for me is good enough. I am quite happy with that. Now that was actually flush before. The end of the actual shaft was flush with the hub nut itself, so I'm quite satisfied. I may just give it a buzz, just final time. That is enough. 180 newton meters isn't the earth, but that was just enough to get that nut moving quite nicely. Okay. Right, okay. Now we can push this tab. This is going to be a little bit on the tricky side, but we'll try it. Done. There's now a gouge in that. Okay, I think I know where it was. I think it was this side it happened, but basically there's a gouge in it now, and it's located in there. That hub nut will not come off. That is a safety measure. Back in the day, I think Rover used big, massive split pins on these hub nuts, but now they just have a notch that you bash in, and that is job done. That just needs a little bit of, I'll just put some silicone just to protect this, a bit of a stone chip in places while I have completed this. But this is where this episode ends. I am really tired. I have got another job to be doing. I will get on to the other side on another day, and I will be doing it slightly differently, rather than using a tool that not many people will want to buy a £50 tool to do this job for an occasional potential job that may crop up every so often with older cars, and most probably older cars. I mean, the quality of rubber these days isn't great, but I hope that these will last a good number of years. So I am going to leave this here, guys. You take care. I will see you in part 2 of this, where we tackle the other side, probably quicker than this side, but I will show you the other way of doing it. Take care. See you very soon. And just a little word actually before you go: like and subscribe and share this channel with as many people as possible, because it just encourages me to do more and more work on my car and to provide more content. The more likes, the more subs, the more I want to do things. The less I become less motivated to do so. Subs mean everything. It is the bread and butter of every YouTuber. So please share this channel with other people if they think they would like it. If you haven't subscribed, why have you not? You clearly like what I like. You clearly like my content, so sub. Anyway, take care. See you very soon.